There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to something we've been very, very excited to bring you all week. It's been in the works. We've been in the lab cooking up. You'll notice on the side of me, two men much more handsome than myself. We've got Brian Cameron, host of Flipping the Birds. I'm Liam Jenkins. And believe it or not, in the flesh, Delaware legend, Mike Adams. Mike, how are you doing right now?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Considering the circumstances anyway.
I was going to say, you've picked quite an interesting year to retire, haven't you? So, I mean, like, that's what I was going to kind of start off with, because obviously, whenever you retire from anything, there has to be maybe a little bit of hesitation, or is it the right time to step away? Like, is this going to be the perfect time or not? Then you've got all of this going on with coronavirus, and I suppose you imagine after the career you've had, almost riding off into the sunset, the sunny vacations and everything, and now it's just ultimate lockdown. I mean, like, has this been the retirement that you planned?
Oh man. But you know what? It's kind of a blessing in disguise only because, I've been playing for 16 years and I haven't spent this much time in one setting with the family. I'm finally getting that time with them. So, because I'm gone 6 months out of the year, and the wife and kids are back at home, and all that going on. They come to every game though, but it's just a blessing in disguise now. But right now, I think I'm going stir crazy. It's been too long.
So I was going to say, obviously, you've a freshly birthday as well. We saw that on Instagram the other day. And I couldn't help but notice on the Instagram live one, an incredible alcohol collection, which made my 1 4-pack of beer look terrible. Two, just the amount of jerseys and helmets and memorabilia that you've collected from teammates and peers throughout your career.
Absolutely.
I mean, what is it like sitting there now knowing that that's almost your legacy, that each one of those has a story, that you can look back on those on a rainy Wednesday and almost reminisce about, yeah, I did that. That was kind of cool.
It's amazing because when you think about it, only 1,500 people get to play this game, depending on the CBA, that fluctuates, but only 1,500 people in the world, like, get to play this game every year. And, I was one of the fortunate ones to do it for 16 years. So it was an honor to get guys like Von Miller jersey, Luke Kuechly, you know what I'm saying? All my close friends, DRC, Jerry Rice. I got Jerry Rice. I got Frank Gore. I got Mike Singleton. I got Mike Singletary, Champ Bailey. Like, just playing with all those guys and I made it, and not to go to another subject, but I made it my business. Every interception that I've caught, I kept the ball.
Really?
Whether I dedicated to somebody, yeah. Whether I dedicated to somebody and I gave it to somebody that was at the game, or I kept it myself and I hung it all around my walls.
Wow. I mean, were the quarterbacks okay with that, even if they won the game? You just be like, nah, I'm taking this one, lads. Like, just...
Oh yeah, I'm keeping that, and I got them all painted, so I remember each one. I remember each touchdown, each interception. I had 30 of them, and I remember them. So it was
Is
pretty
there a
cool.
specific one that stands out?
Yeah. Which one that stands out?
Yeah.
The two I had against Tom Brady, honestly.
Ooh.
That stands out when I was with the Indianapolis Colts because, it was a crucial moment in the game, and it was like a turning point for us. Even though we still lost the game, it was like one of those crucial moments and one of those interception, and that was my favorite interception. I would never forget it.
That's amazing, man. And I know, obviously, there have been some incredible stories probably from your career that we're going to dive into. And I know that the first question we've got from a fan in the chat, so welcome to everyone watching along with us. We'll try and get as many of your questions answered as we can. This one comes from Mark Walker, who just says, "What's up, Liam and Mike? What advice would you give to someone that wants to play at the highest level?"
I would say stay focused. And the one thing that separates athletes, is some guys just athletic and they're just freaks, right? And then you get that guy that's just disciplined. And usually the most disciplined guys make it far, or the successful ones, because it's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to wake up 6 o'clock every morning just to go work out. You work out, then you do some more, and then you go out and practice, and you studied and you practice some more. That discipline just to do that day in and day out. And I would just say to that young man, just stay disciplined. And if that's your goal to do it, do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not.
Love that. I couldn't agree more. I mean, not that I've ever played at the highest level, but as someone, that's gone down something where you're just chasing that tunnel vision, like it's so important. And I think a little bit closer to home, obviously I'm a million miles away right now, but Brian sort of grew up in the same area. I think, well, I say same area, I forget how big America really is, but obviously yourself playing in Delaware, Brian, you're in the rough, is that right, Brian? You're in the rough kind of area?
Well, I actually grew up in Newark, so not too far from, I think you grew up in Patterson, right, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, you grew up in Newark, New Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm from up there, but we moved down to Central Jersey now.
Oh, okay. We're at by Brunswick?
Yeah. Right next to Bridgewater.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I know exactly where you're at. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's what's up.
I'll just pretend and nod that I know what these places are and go, yep.
Are you Googling it?
but what's it like? Because obviously, you came into the league as an undrafted free agent. And there is that reputation with undrafted free agents where they have to be that extra bit tenacious, that extra bit hungry with the chip on the shoulder because, you weren't handed anything or you weren't taken and given that sort of 3-4 year security window. And I suppose back then as well, where before the collective bargaining agreement changed, with all the contracts were a bit different. So did your upbringing in that area kind of impact the player that you later became?
Absolutely. I always tell people this. I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the fastest. I just wanted it more. I just wanted it more than the next person. And that's what propelled me to just keep going, And throughout the process, I everybody has a why they do something, My mom passed right before the San Francisco 49ers picked me up as a free agency, And that was my why. That was my why. And as time went on, it was like I got a family. That's my why. You steady. I read something today where it said motivation not run doesn't last. And I thought, I'm like, it doesn't. It really doesn't because you have things that motivate you and motivate you for that moment, for that week, for that 2 weeks, but then you got to find something within yourself to keep it going. And I think growing up the way I did, I just decided to just keep that hunger.
Love that, man. That's really impressive. And I think then going on from there into where your career went, I know that the thing that almost perked my ears up like a little meerkat when we first spoke was that you said that when you came to Philly that the reception was always a little bit different. And I know that obviously in recent years you've done it as well, and we'll get to those games a bit later. But what is it about that area, that Philly, that New Jersey, that area, that made it so poignant in your mind?
You know what? I'm gonna back up a little bit because when I went to the University of Delaware, I didn't even know where Delaware was. I'm like, I'm not going there. I'm like, no. But when I ended up going there, I fell in love with the Philadelphia Eagles. Watching Brian Dawkins, watching McNabb, Westbrook, who went to Villanova, my rivalry school. Trotter, Jeremiah Trotter, Sheldon Brown, Leo Shepard. The list goes on. I was a big fan of them guys, and me prevailing me at Delaware, because my Philly fans were from Delaware, so every time I went to Philly to play, I got a nice warm reception from people. So, and I know Philly fans are ruthless. They can be tough, boy. I tell you. And for me to get not a warm welcome, not a standing ovation, but hey, Mike, hey, we went to Delaware. We're gonna win today, but we're glad you're here. You're glad you're still in the league, but it was no love lost. It was a good thing though. But that area with the fans, you gotta love it.
Absolutely, and I think that's it's something that's. I mean, hey, I'm British, right? The amount of tea and crumpets comments I get every day on the YouTube channel or articles, it goes without saying. I wondered how long this would take to be brought up. So John Oliver says in the chat, "Hey Mike, so I'm sorry to take you with this one straight away. It was bound to come up anyway. I mean, what are your thoughts on Carolina releasing Cam? I think more importantly, I'll angle it a bit differently. What are your experiences with Cam as a person? Because I know there are so many different lights he's portrayed in, but I think to many, he's just the ultimate like community guy, right? That he's involved in everything, wants to help people. I mean, is that accurate? What are your thoughts on that whole situation? Because it's tricky.
It's only tricky for the people that don't know him. And think about it, a lot of people have never seen all the community stuff he's done. No one really seen it. And the crazy part about it is like he doesn't invite everybody to it because he don't want the cameras. He don't want any of that, which is cool, but he glorifies more because shadowed by with his hair. That's my thing. And I tell you like this, Ken is a guy that I would go with anytime. Like I would play with him. Like if you put him in the locker room and you see his leadership and you see what he grinds and the way he plays and the stuff he says, oh man, you're ready to go through a brick wall. So them releasing him, I thought it was. I didn't think it was obviously you had to do it because you brought in Teddy Bridgewater. But me personally, if I put my GM hat, I'm keeping him.
Yeah, I love that. It's always interesting to hear that kind of mindset. And if I could as well, I know the reason for your retirement. I mean, obviously, there kind of has to be that natural clock, right, of wondering like, is it time now? Is it time to step away? Like, what the reasons for it may be. I guess there's a lot of different guys in that situation where maybe like a Josh McCown or someone where you're coming back in, you get that another shot. What was the last few free agencies like for you where, the opening wave of free agency and the safety market becomes that much more lucrative and the guaranteed money becomes a bit more of a concern for some of the top 10, top 20 guys? What kind of drove you to go, right, do you know what? I'm done with that bit now. Like, I'm ready to move away. Because it can't be easy.
You talking about the free agency period?
Yeah.
No, it is definitely not easy. So I never had that problem because I wasn't drafted and I wasn't never up for that $10 million deal, 20 guaranteed or like any of that stuff. All my deals were short term and I was easy. So usually I was done in the first week. I got on my team, got it signed for a couple mil and that was it. So I can't speak for others, but I didn't have that problem probably towards last year when I had to really wait till the last week in September to get picked up by the Texans. Yeah. That was tough. That was a tough just to wait. And this year I wasn't trying to do that. I wasn't gonna wait anymore, wait that long just to get picked up. I said, let it be known early that, I'm gonna retire and that's it. And look at this coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like if I wouldn't have on, I would have never got. I probably would have never got the third level safety. That's what they would say.
You'd be out there expected to catch the coronavirus. That's the thing, and intercept it and take it back 30 yards. That's It's mad. So, I mean, let me ask you this. So, coming off the back of that retirement, where it's something you've done every day for 16 years of working out, same routine, whether it's like different teams or whatever, like I guess the rough outset is the same. What was that first week like when you step away and you wake up one morning and suddenly, click of fingers, it's not there, like, oh, okay. I mean, was there a change in mentality? Did it hit you kind of weird? Because I know I've spoken to some former players before where their mental health can get affected somewhat because all that stuff occupying your mind is just football and it's X's and O's and it's working out and it's like all this different stuff. The second that leaves, it's like filling that void. I mean, did you have a problem with that or was it just easy to relax and finally just have a well-earned sort of whiskey for a change?
No, actually it's cool because it hasn't hit me yet. And the reason why it hasn't because the season just got over and I'm usually off around this time anyway. I think once September hits, then I would really be able to answer that question for you, September, and then get in the season and see how much I miss it. If I don't be already at a team coaching or in the front office, so you never know.
Would that be something you're interested in then, going into a front office or looking at it that way?
Yes, I'm definitely interested in the front office. getting guys in there, just evaluating guys, I tell people we've been doing that all our life anyway,
Yeah.
because every time they brought somebody in to replace me, I'm looking at him like, okay, is he tall? Is he big? Is he strong? Is his hip move? Can he get out the post? Is he smart? Oh, he asks too many questions. No, he ain't gonna make it. I'm better. You know, and those are the things us athletes do. I mean, we won't admit it, but we want everybody to win. But we competing for a job, basically, because everybody can't make the team.
I think that's another interesting element as well, and especially towards those last few years in your career, like particularly Carolina stands out and the dynamic they had there. Do you feel a responsibility to be a leader for those younger guys that have walked, or you've walked that path before, or is it intuitive, or is it something some players veer away from?
I think a lot of people veer away from it, but me, I was never like that. Never. I felt as though it was my duty to bring along the young guys and show them how to do it, because I had Tony Parrish. You know, he was my safety when I played. The Chicago Bears ended up going to San Francisco 49ers and Dallas for a short stint. He always told me, "Hey, take care of your body. Yes, no, don't do that." He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. Always took care of his body. He was a workout. He was an animal. And he just he was doing all of that stuff, and he showed me the right way to do it. So he said, "One thing I ask is you to pay it forward. I don't want nothing from you. Just pay it forward." And that's what I did. I made sure, like, anytime I got a young guy in the locker room, I take him under my wing, like, "Hey, you're going to go get me donuts, but I'm going to show you how to do this. But I want my donuts in the morning."
All right, you may notice, obviously, Brian's got himself an Eagles cap on. I know he's probably been itching to ask you a couple of questions. Brian, what have you got cooking?
Well, first and foremost, obviously the game is changing. And for a team like Philly, where I don't want to say they don't value the linebacker position, but they value more the versatility of the defensive backs. Is that something that you could see, like, a defense really striving with that?
Yes. If you, well, you're a Philly fan, so Philly just probably starting to get into that. But when I played with the Broncos, Jack Del Rio was the D coordinator. When we played, sometimes it was 7, 8 DBs on the field, and we let Von Miller and Dumerville, and we let them rush. And that's what the game comes to, because when you playing teams like the Rams or the Saints with all these receivers that can hurt you, you want as many as DBs as possible on the field. That can tackle as well, because if your DBs can't tackle, if they try to run the ball, you get thrashed. But I could see the game transitioning to that a little bit more. But let me change. Not the game transitioning, teams doing more of that. Because Jack Del Rio was doing it when I was there in 2011.
Also, on that note, I mean, we mentioned Philly, and I promise I won't mention Ronald Darby just for the sake of my insanity here, but you played a couple of games against the Eagles in recent years, one in 2018, one in 2017, and I know Brian has got one question in mind that he really wants to kind of dive into, but before we get to that sort of area, your thoughts. So, like, obviously the one game you were in 2018 against the Eagles was probably the most frustrating game for an Eagles fan to watch in quite some time. That the way that game then suddenly turned on its head, being on the opposite side of the boot and on that team, watching this unfold and going from a game that was seemingly out of reach into, oh my God, they're choking it and we're making it happen. How do you keep that fire burning? Like, is that your duty as one of the older guys on the field to really keep the foot on the gas and not roll over?
You talking about specifically the game when we came back and won?
That's the one. Yeah, don't need to. It's okay.
With a smile.
I had to throw it in my boy Brian's face real quick. Well, see that's the thing about the NFL, and I tell people all the time, man, the game is never over. Sometimes all it takes is one play. That one thing that people always forget about, that one is hard to stop. It's that word called momentum. Think about that Super Bowl with the Patriots and Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
momentum. And that's what we had in that game against the Eagles. I think it was one big play. I think Torrey Holt made the. Was it not? I said Torrey Holt. Torrey
Smith.
Torrey Smith made the play on the sideline, I think, and it was a long. I think it was like third and long or something. And he made the play, and then we scored on that drive. And once we scored on that drive, our defense started picking up momentum, and I dropped the interception too in the end zone.
Oh, okay. Is that the thing that's sticking out after all? Even the entire game, that's the one little knock where it's just like, oh, could have added some salt in the wound.
Yeah, it's momentum though. It's hard to stop momentum, man. Somebody has to stop the bleeding, and when you have leadership on a team, that's why teams like, a lot of teams just young. They're just young and they won't win because sometimes you need leaders on that team to say, you know what, hey, let's go. Just stop the bleeding, and all it takes is just one play, and then the whole game just shifts.
Absolutely, and then I think 1 year before that, so 2017. Bizarrely, I think one of the most memorable games of the season for me that year was Eagles Panthers Thursday Night Football.
Thursday night, yeah. They beat her.
It was. I just remember that game being a roller coaster from start to finish. Maybe it was because I was caffeined up at 5 a.m. English time. I don't know, but it felt like a good game. I mean, what are your memories of that game and that environment?
They came in fired up. I thought we was flat that game. I thought we came out real flat, and they just had they had the momentum in that game right there, and it wouldn't go away. So it started going back and forth because it was a good game. So because we was fighting, we had a lot of good leaders on that defense that just wouldn't budge. Like Thomas Davis, we had Luke Kuechly, and our defensive line, Julius Peppers. But the one thing that really stood out in that game was Carson Wentz tried to run me over on the goal line.
I've got that.
He tried me, and he caught me off guard. He almost caught me slipping because I thought he was gonna slide, and because quarterbacks, come on, what are you doing right now? Get on the ground. Get on the ground, because I'm not gonna win this battle. Because if I hit you, it's a flag. If I don't hit you, it's a touchdown. Like, come on. But I remember that from that game. But the pendulum swung their way a lot more than it did ours. That day, they definitely was the better team.
So you got your revenge a year later then. So, I mean, Brian, I know you've got a question about Wentz then that will directly correlate to that. So I'll let you fire that one away.
Yeah, so Mike, you faced Wentz in the 2017 season and as well as the 2018 season. Did you see a different dynamic from your standpoint as a player of how Wentz looked? Because the media has completely turned Wentz into kind of like this mediocre quarterback who just doesn't have the magic that Nick Foles has.
Yeah.
Do you see that kind of the same way, or do you still see the gunslinger that was there in 2017?
I never thought he was a gunslinger. I thought he had I thought he read defenses well, and I thought he was very accurate as a quarterback, and he ran when he had to. I think his game started to diminish a little bit when he couldn't run anymore. He wanted to run, but once he got hurt, they wanted his game change. And sometimes when you take an element from someone's game, they have to find themselves. I can guarantee this year will be better for him because he got a whole year to just find himself. They don't want him to run no more, so it's like, okay, let me find myself now. Now they got to put some players in front of him. And if they put those players in front of him, meaning that they protect them, one, and they get him a couple dynamic receivers, and he doesn't prevail, then it'll be all downhill from there for him. But if he excels, he did a good job adjusting for himself. Because remember, his game has changed because when he got injured.
Yeah, 100%. So, just trying to read through a couple of the fan comments that we've...
Can I answer your question?
You can, yeah. Shoot. You good? Oh, hang on. Are we there?
Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you definitely did. Because I was trying to see, how do you view him in the league, in the tier of quarterbacks? Because obviously, not top 5, not yet. Obviously
No,
not.
I ain't putting him top 5.
But for example,
If he-
for like Dak Prescott versus Wentz, because I'm pretty sure you faced both of them at this point.
Yep. You saying who I think is better?
Yeah, right now.
Right now, I would take Dak because he can run and throw.
No.
But if we talking about like, again, I gotta see Carson Wentz how he gonna do this year too. But right now, if you ask me right now, I'm taking Dak.
Okay, that's
That's
fair.
I like Wentz though. The crazy part about it is when he came out of North Dakota, right?
Yeah.
Because I went to the University of Delaware. I was rooting for him, and it was crazy because I thought the Cleveland Browns was gonna finally get their quarterback and draft him, but I think they traded him or something like that, and something happened. But I thought they was gonna finally get their guy in Carson Wentz, and it would have been good. It's cold in North Dakota, cold in Cleveland. That would have been a great pickup for them. But right now, to answer your question, I'm gonna take that.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. I'm sure the live chat comments are going to explode in about 30 seconds on the update. And on that note, I think the best question someone's asked all night here is from Duck Nguyen, who I know has been one of our long-time sort of fans. He listens to like everything we put out. He said, how do you deal with questions about locker room talk? Now, obviously, the Eagles had quite a unique situation this year where everything just caught fire and it was terrible. Looking at the locker rooms that you've been in, and a 16-year veteran and all of those memories along the way, has there been a time where someone has spoken out against a teammate, or there has been like some inner... Because it can't all be smooth sailing all the time. How do you deal with that disruption? Is there a way to tame it? Is it on the veterans? Or is that just part of football? Because there's so many emotions and a lot of testosterone in that locker room, I'm guessing, right?
It's definitely a combination of all of that, but I will say, you know, as men, like, I mean, you're free to say what you want to say, but it's on the leaders in that locker room, and it's on the leadership, it's on the vets in the locker room to contain that. And one thing I can say about that, when that does happen, when someone lash out against another player on the team and it goes public, most likely that team is losing. Most likely that team is not winning because of the dysfunction. And I've been on that team. I've been on the team like that, and we didn't win. You can't win like that. You know, somebody calling somebody else out in the media, I don't know what that does and what that proves. But one thing about it is, as an athlete, and I always tell guys, the locker room is sacred. Everything that happens in the locker room should stay in the locker room. If it's a fight, if it's a fight that happened in the locker room, nobody should know about it but in the locker room. The team and we said something real bad, that should stay in the locker room. Yeah. In the locker room, I would never repeat them because it's the locker room and it's sacred. But once stuff start getting out of the locker room, I mean, you start losing control, man, and most likely you're losing. And it comes out of it's because frustration, you're not getting the ball, or you need the ball, you're not getting the ball, you're not making tackles, you got benched. It's always a story behind it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think, you know, dynamics can change so quickly depending on, you know, people that come in and out in off seasons and stuff. I think the one thing that struck my mind, obviously, is that going from that Super Bowl win, playing with that Denver team, when you later played for Carolina, on that note, was there any amnesty almost, or like some funny looks from players on that Carolina team that had seen you know, that year before, and gone, oh, hang on, hey, what's he doing here? Is that...
No, see the thing. Well, I was in the Colts at that time.
Oh, you were on the Colts at that time.
When I went to the Super Bowl, we played the Seattle Seahawks and we lost. We got beat really bad. Right. And then from there, hey Brian, don't make that face. And then from there, I ended up going to Indianapolis, the Colts for 3 years, and then I was in Carolina. So I had a little room to work with.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I was gonna say that I remember. Okay, it's all right. Wires crossed. We're all good. But did you ever sense that? Were there any, let's say, an opponent that you came up against, or a receiver that you came up against, or like before, that you would maybe had a bit of a flair with, a bit of temper, or a bit of like that natural fire that comes out that you then had to be teammates with, and were like, oh, okay, right, let's get to work.
it's actually all love.
Really?
I mean, because believe it or not, me and Cam, we had a little beef because when we played them, when I was with the Colts and we played against Cam, that's when they went 15-1. We played there one night and he had ran the ball. He came up and I had tackled him. And when I tackled him, he got up first and he mushed me back down. And I fell and I got up and I pushed him and I'm like, and then he started doing his thing and then he dabbed on me.
Oh, no, wow.
So at this moment, I'm pissed. I'm hot right now. So later on, I'm like, you run the ball, I'm gonna get you. I'm getting you, bro. So he's run the ball on the sideline, and I came and I just cut him.
Oh man!
And when I cut him, he went flying a little bit. And then his whole sideline, it was Joe. I remember it was Joe Webb. It was Thomas Davis, Luke, and I didn't know these guys at the time. We just knew of each other because we, And they yelling on the sideline, "What you doing? You soft. Go up top. He could blow you. He'll run you over. This and that." And I'm like, man, shut up. We just talking back and forth. Like it was a lot of smack talk that game. And then we ended up losing that game because Luke Kuechly caught the game-winning interception. But then when I ended up going to Carolina, he was one of the first persons to greet me, and we talked about it. And we just laughed and we giggled about the whole thing. So that's the thing about football. Like we can talk smack about you and we can go at it. It's the competitive spirit. But at the end of the day, if you on my team, then I'm gonna ride with you. I'm gonna do everything you do. I'm gonna just ride with you.
Love that. And there's an interesting question as well. It's come from one of our writers, Eric Reese, who's been with us a while. Who's grown up in the Delaware area as well. I think he's is it an alum? That's the word, isn't it, in America? I'm making sure I say that right. See, we're not that prestigious in England. Anyway, he went to Delaware, as I will say. And he said there are a plethora of rival schools like Towson, James Madison, Villanova, and Richmond. Do you recall a specific team that you highlighted on your college schedule?
Oh, Villanova.
Yeah?
Villanova, no question. It was Villanova. When James Madison started to get good, like that, Villanova was the team to beat when I was playing. It was Villanova and Maine was pretty good. Townsend wasn't even in the league at that time because that's when it was Atlantic 10. Now it's CAA. And Rhode Island wasn't that good. The team to beat was Richmond. It was James Madison they was pretty good. It was Richmond, William and Mary, and Villanova. Those were the team. But I'm circling Villanova though. Oh yeah.
Do you still bear that grudge now? Like if you just walk past and see someone in a Villanova cap, someone's got to hold you back from you. Like, no, leave them, Mike. They're not worth it. They're not worth it.
Oh no! If I see somebody with a Villanova cap, I'm gonna give him some smack. Just like my boy Ray Ventrone, the special team coach with the Colts. He went to Villanova, so we always get a little friendly wager every time we play him. But he owned us the last couple of years. He owned me the last couple of years. Delaware hasn't been doing too good against them.
Fair enough. I mean, so on that note, I mean, we're getting into kind of coaches and stuff, and I think the one position in football that I'm obsessed with is corner, and looking at the different styles of corner and the techniques and what's needed to make a good corner in the right scheme. You've obviously had the blessing of playing with some amazing cornerbacks like in your career. Is there one that stands out as the best corner that you can say you've lined up with as a teammate, knowing that if it's a go route, if someone's gone down deep, that that's no bother, I can turn back round. That's an incompletion. Like you just have that confidence, like that's the guy, it's sorted.
Champ Bailey.
Really?
Hands down, Champ Bailey. After Champ Bailey, I'm going to say Joe Hayden. After Joe, I'll probably say Chris Harris. Then after that, I got to put Jonathan Joseph up there. Jonathan Joseph definitely in my top 5 that I played with, I'm talking about.
Yeah. What about safeties? Because obviously at safety, that's changed a lot, isn't it, over the last 10, 15 years? I mean, when you came into the league, obviously, and you were saying you were watching guys like Brian Dawkins and stuff, right? And now you're suddenly playing with those guys. Oh my God, that guy's on the other team. in your time, like, has there been a safety that's transcended that almost switching position? Because that rare breed of safety is almost like slowly changing into this do it all, can be everywhere, like plays every spot, like get him to punt, get him to play receiver, like he'll do everything sort of thing from safety. Like, is there who's the best safety, would you say, that you've played with?
The best safety I play with.
You can't say Mike Adams because that's cheating.
I definitely was gonna
man
say
in the
me.
mirror.
It's a whole conversation, but I'm putting T.J. Ward in that conversation. I'm gonna put Jimmy Leonard. He was really smart. I'm gonna put Jim Leonard in that conversation. I played with a lot of good safeties. Bronny Poole. I played with Sean Jones. Even Eric Reed. Eric Reed is definitely up there. Eric Reed was a pretty good safety. Yeah, but the game has changed because, like you said, the versatility. But if you're talking about pure safeties, you know what I mean, that's some. Well, Eric Reed, he can play dime as well because he's fast. He can move. Right now, that's all they're looking for: versatile safeties. Safeties like Malcolm Jenkins that can play as he's a safety, but he gonna play in the box at dime, just like you said, 6-7 DBs on the field. And if it wasn't for the 6-7 DBs on the field, I wouldn't have won that Super Bowl.
Very true. Very true. Right, we're gonna get to that in a little bit.
Cause you know what? When I saw Malcolm Jenkins on a running back, I said, "Oh yeah, Philly gonna win." That was a great game plan. I don't know who the D coordinator was. I know Corey Utland was over there. He in Detroit Lions now.
Yeah.
But whoever came up with that game plan, I was like, oh, yeah, they got it.
It's mad because I remember before, like, that there were so many little intricacies that Philly implemented for that game. And it was bizarre because it was like you could tell it was the game of a life. And I remember there was a real focus on, like, before the game when I was going through all the media packs and the analytics and stuff, and in my mind it was like, well, New England struggled against its tight ends and stuff. Eagles have got 3. There was a lot of 13 personnel. But on defense, like you said, there was just a distinct difference of, like, we know we're weak at corner, so let's bend and not break. Let's give them the 500 passing yards. Don't let them in. Just beef it up front. Let the safeties do their thing, and just accept your weaknesses on the back end. And it worked a charm. And it's like, I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit because Malcolm Jenkins was a topic I was going to bring up for a few different reasons. Most notably that the Eagles decided to let him walk, as I'm sure you all know. He's got himself a nice new contract with New Orleans, who he was with beforehand. But with that kind of player, as someone that's probably been through that scenario, when you look at the Malcolm Jenkins situation where there wasn't any guaranteed money in his contract, and for a player of that level, is there almost a perspective from another player of looking at it like, damn, Philly, what are you doing? Or do you understand that business side of it as well? Because it's got to be hard to see, like the full picture there.
Yeah, I would, if I'm putting my GM hat on, I'm gonna keep him around.
Yeah.
Because when you let a leader like that go, when you let an emotional leader like that go, you let go of part of the locker room. You let go part of the locker room that the guys that's probably knuckleheads or probably don't listen, they ain't listen. They're not listening no more because that leader's gone. That voice of reason is gone. Like, no, don't do it like this. Do this. Do it the right way. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure he left a good stain, a great mark on those D-backs and be like, you know what, this is the right way to do it. If I'm not here, this is how you do it. So I'm pretty sure they probably carry on his legacy. Well, I hope they carry on his legacy. But from the other standpoint where he didn't have guaranteed money, it's tough. I always try to tell people to get their money front loaded. So got a whole lot money in the back. Especially if you're 31, 32, they cut their loss. But my thing is, if you are a guy like that, I gotta ask myself, okay, what's the price of leadership? How much does leadership cost? Now, if you're rebuilding, that's something. If you're rebuilding, that's something different. If you if you got somebody that he was mentoring that's younger, faster, a little better, well, potentially better, okay, then you cut your losses. Okay, I get it. So I'm not in that locker room to digest it like that, but I'm just giving a few scenarios how it could have played out.
Yeah. Hey Mike, real quick, sorry LJ, I'm gonna get yelled at if I don't say this, but Troy wants me to tell you that he's on and that he's gonna tell Captain Munderland that you left him off the list of corners.
Oh, I got his text. He said what?
He said he's gonna tell Captain Munderland that you left him off his corners list. Like,
oh no! Oh.
He said put Captain Munderland on the corners list.
Yeah, he's gonna tell him that you left him off your corner list.
Hey, Captain Munderland, he's a nickel.
Oh. It's just back again. Do you know what? Captain Munderland number 1, Captain Munderland number 2, third place. Captain Munderland. That's amazing, man. On that note, though, so while we're talking that sort of frame, obviously in the Eagles situation, they've got a player that's now moving from cornerback to safety, a transition, and I know that you'll be pretty familiar with, like, is it hard going from corner to safety? Like, I mean, I know we talk about the different skill sets, and it can aid someone that maybe doesn't have the the long speed to play with a deeper receiver, to get them away from the ball and let them click and close and stuff. But what are the differences in your mind between going from, let's say, an outside corner to suddenly a free safety over the top? Like, will it take a while for that transition to set in, or is it fairly, all right, I'll just go stand over there and a bit further back and watch the action happen sort of thing?
No, it's actually fairly easy if you play corner. Corner's the hardest job on the field.
Yeah.
And at safety, if you're in the middle of the field, like, and you show range meaning if you can run, if you're in the deep part of the field, in the middle of the field, and they throwing a deep ball on the sideline, you in the middle of the field, you can get there to the sideline before that ball gets there. And as a corner safety, if you can do that, you'll play a long time in the league. And if that corner's smart, he would excel. And if he can tackle, I tell people, if you can open the tackle, that'll put 2 more years on your a lot of people can't tackle in the open field. Mm-hmm. When round one and you make a tackle, oh man, that's the hardest thing ever for a safety. When the running back come and they open up like the Red Sea and he's just shooting through there and it's just you and a running back, a safety and a running back, and you got to make that tackle. 10 times out of 10, the running back's supposed to win. But when he doesn't win and that safety makes that tackle, he'll be around a long time. So you can tackle, you got range, and you're smart. As a corner, you can do that.
See, I love that, and that's something I wanted to bring up as well, because I've got... I caught a lot of flack last year for saying that I think the worst bit of business the Eagles did that whole offseason was bring back Ronald Darby because he couldn't tackle. And that was the bottom line of it, was like the scheme they ran with that cover 3 where they're playing off coverage, and if all they're going to do is run curl routes at you because they know you've got deep speed, they'll just run things underneath. If you can't tackle, it's game breakers all day. Is it more important in today's game for a cornerback? Is it higher on the scout's sort of like attributes box to tick? Like, would you look for tackling over, let's say, ball production a little bit more than you would have 10 years ago?
You started breaking up towards the end.
Okay, so just
breaking up.
Okay, would you look for tackling over, let's say, ball production just a little bit more than you would have 10 years ago, let's say?
You started breaking up. I lost you to the end.
It's okay. Third time lucky. We can do it. So, would you value tackling, like in a cornerback, a little bit more than ball production or another attribute than you would have maybe 10 years ago, just because of the way that the game's changing?
Oh yeah, tackling is big. Now, if you're a corner and you can't tackle, but you're special, meaning like the cornerback rarely throw to your side. I mean, I make an exception. If my defense, you got to be able to tackle as a corner, because just like you said in Harvey, he got long speed, but if you can't beat me deep, you can't win.
Yeah.
Teams can't beat me throwing a 10-yard out. You're not going to do that. You're not going to beat me running the curl. You're not going to beat me. You can have that curl. I'm going to tackle it. We line up.
Yeah.
Now, if I run the curl and you don't make the tackle, now we have a problem.
Exactly.
Because now they're going to keep running the curl because they know you can't tackle.
100%. It's interesting, and I love that dynamic that you've got now where corners are being asked to... What was already the hardest position on the field is now becoming even more so because you're expected to almost tackle like a linebacker, but cover like a corner with the instinct of a safety. Like, it's so weird. Like, they're being asked so much. Is that something now when, in the last couple of years in the league, where you look at, let's say, Carolina and Houston and the DBs that you've worked with, has there been someone that has stood out as being able to do all of those things?
Jalil Adai.
Shout.
Jalil Adai. He was with the Chargers last year. He was with the Chargers last year, and this was his first year with the Carolina Panthers this year. He signed a 1-year deal. He's a free agent now. He can hit. He can play the deep part of the field. He can cover. He can tackle. Just think about it. Hitting and tackle is two different things. A lot of people don't realize that. When I say get hit, that means he's a guy. If you come in looking at me in my eye, and I'm looking at you in your eye, and it's like, now if you can tackle, you just make tackles, which is cool. But he can do both, and that's what makes him special. He's a small guy too. He's a small guy with a big heart, and he can do a lot of that stuff. And hopefully he get picked up soon because he definitely can he definitely can fill that void and do a lot of different things like that. But you at this day and age, you don't have to do all of that.
No. All
you have to do is be good at a couple things. And when you get at a couple things, all it takes is one team to like you, because you can't play for two teams.
I wish I could. I mean, as much as I'm terrible at Madden, it'd be a lot more fun. Interestingly, looking forward. So when you've come off of such a prolonged career where you've done so much and achieved so much, do you still pay attention to the draft and to free agency and to guys coming out of college, or have you almost switched off from that and just want to have a football-free zone for a little bit?
I paid more attention to free agency and not college. Like, I pay attention to the college guys coming out a little bit, especially the top guys that they say that's supposed to be like top 10, top 20, whatever. I try to pay attention to those guys and see, do they really land where they should? But for the most part, I look at a lot of NFL guys.
That's fair. I don't blame you, man. It's been a bumpy few weeks in free agency. I mean, I guess on that note as well. So you look at the off-season and the way it's all panning out so far and how coronavirus is impacting everything. Like, I think another major change outside of that has just been the induction of social media and phones and technology. How much, like, if you were to, let's say, 10 years ago, right, so you were still in the league, let's just, theoretical scenario, you're leaving a team, you're entering free agency. How is that process different now to how it would have been 10 years ago? Because obviously now it's surely phones, emails, FaceTimes, it's flying out everywhere. Was it still the same, or were you still maybe trying to do things a bit differently back then?
No, back then it would have been totally different back then. Because think about it, like, I didn't even have we didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have iPhones. It wasn't, we didn't have the technology that we do today, where it's Twitter, and we get to put our highlight films out there and see this and see this. We had VH1 tapes, and then we graduated from there and we had DVDs. So you actually had to study a guy by watching the DVD. Now we can pull up stuff on a computer and like, okay, let me see what this guy got. Let me see what this is. Let me FaceTime him. Let me see what kind of guy he really is. Let me ask him questions to push his buttons a little bit to see what he get hot or see what he controls himself. We have the technology to do that now. So, and think about it, like the scouts, they're working all year.
Yeah. So
if I know I got to fill a hole at wide receiver, my scout gonna be looking for a wide receiver all year long. So once the season is over, he's going to have a list of players who he think can fit our system. So, and then I would go from there. So, and that's another thing. Like, you don't have to do it all at the last minute. You got scouts that's doing it for you.
Yeah, and I suppose another big change as well in that time frame has been analytics. And I've always wanted to ask, I always make sure I ask players this as well, but especially with someone like you who's been around since the dawn. Well, I know analytics have been in football for a while, but more prominently over, let's say, the last 5 years or so. is it something teams are implementing and coaching staffs are implementing, and you're like, dude, get off my back, just watch the tape, I can tackle, I'm doing it? Or is it much more of a, hey, this is an aid and not a hindrance? Like, is there a bit of, like, almost hesitation to rely on the numbers as much as some teams do?
Me, I don't want to rely on numbers.
You're a tape guy.
I want to see the tape. Yeah, I'm a tape guy. I'm a feel guy. I want to see how you move. I want to see that. I don't want to see your PFF and see how many times they threw against you. Like where they threw against you, how many balls you batted down. No, I want to see you bat down the ball. I want to see you pick it off. You know what I mean? I want to know, did you really pick it off, or was it a bad throw? I want to know, was it a tip ball, or you really had great coverage on this guy? I want to see how you work on the line. I want to see your hands. I want to see that stuff. I want to see that this person got a 95 and this person got a 93, so you land at 94. They average it out. Nah, man, I ain't doing that.
I love it, and I'm the same. I would much rather watch tape than look at a Pro Football Focus page or stats, and it's important, especially in the secondary with corners and wide receivers and stuff, because I think I've always said that like stats can be misleading or should help tell a narrative and not just be the narrative. Like they can assist a story you're telling, they can assist what's on film and say, hey, look at this guy, he's playing really well. Oh, and by the way, he's got X amount of passes defense, but it shouldn't be black and white. This guy got a 93.7 on a Wednesday afternoon when it's raining, because it's contextual, right?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff doesn't equate, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of intangibles that, don't get factored in, know? Do this guy have or defensive line? Is the ball coming out quick? It's a lot of things that's probably not calculated, because you think about, let's go for a second. I think what, I haven't done my homework. I think San Fran was there top 10 secondary?
Oh yeah, it should be out there. Yeah. Oh, easily, yeah, with the corners they've got.
So regardless of the corners, right? Look at all the top 10 secondaries and see that they have a defensive line.
Yeah.
And then you look at the bottom half, and see how much pressures they got, see how many sacks they got.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Interesting one we've got as well from another one of our readers. So Duck again says, how much individual homework did you do during the off season for the upcoming year just to get that competitive advantage?
Oh, I did a lot of homework. Well, I didn't do a lot. I did it in moderation. I still wanted to enjoy myself and enjoy the time off, because once the season starts, once camp starts and it gets going, that's all. Everything is football. You eat, sleep, and you shit. Excuse me. You eat, sleep, and you football. This HBO, we good?
Yeah, nah, we're good. Hey, we're on the internet, man. Anything can happen. That's just
everything is about football, so I study in moderation. I would look at this defense here. I'll go over some notes. I do little things like that, but for the most part, I'm on vacation with the family. I'm gonna enjoy myself, enjoy the weekends, and have many cookouts and barbecues as much as possible.
Do you think that'd help better mentally? Like, if you'd have spent on the opposite of that, let's say like 3-4 months just doing flat out grinding, like 9 to 6 every day on tape or whatever, would you reckon that can hurt players, because then you just end up so mentally like exhausted by the time OTAs and camp roll around?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think there's a time and point where every player, every coach should just get away from the game for a week, for 3 days. Just get away from it. Because a coach told me a long time ago, he said, the game don't love you back, and the game can get the best of you. You'll be so in tune to the game, and you study so much, and you will see something, and they're about to do it, but you don't believe it because you just study so much. Or it can be vice versa. You study so much, you're about to do it, and then you make a great play. Yeah. It can work both ways. But I think that mental aspect, that mental release, I think everyone needs that.
And I mean, interesting interesting as well then to talk about another player that you played with in Carolina, in Luke Kuechly, who stepped away from football for probably, obviously different reasons. But what made someone like that so different to everyone else at his position? Because you watch it and it's like the guy is just like, he knows what's coming every single play. It's like watching someone play again on Madden on the easiest difficulty. Like, he's an absolute animal the second you turn the tape on. Is there anything that he did differently to, let's say, the other 52 guys in that locker room?
No, he studied.
He's just
wow. Studied. He was a student of the game. He didn't do anything different but study. He studied. He probably studied more than most guys.
Yeah.
That's what separated him, and I would leave the facility and he's still at the facility. And I thought I was the last one, but he's the last one. He won't be the first one there, but he will be the last one. But when it's time in the morning, he'll work out, he do his thing, but he does a lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people never saw.
Yeah.
And that's why his retirement didn't surprise me. And I'm glad he's worrying about his health first. And shout out to Luke Kuechly, that's my boy.
Love that. Interesting question as well from Rory Smith. We won't keep you too much longer. I know we're hitting on the hour mark here. He says, does preseason and training camp seem to help you get ready for each year, even once you're already an older veteran? So is there still that same stock in wanting to play, let's say, 3 preseason games and go through all of training camp? Or are you able to take your foot off the gas by year 12 because, hey, it's year 12, you know the rigors of it and that sort of thing?
So I think you need to go through it, but I think it should be in moderation. So one thing about me, when I went to the Indianapolis coach, Chuck Pagano, he took care of me. Like, I didn't practice every day in camp. I didn't practice every day during the season. I was off on Wednesdays. I never practiced on Wednesdays because he knew I was going to study. He knew I was going to go through all the walkthroughs. I'm doing all the walkthroughs, knowing my run fit, knowing where I'm supposed to fit, knowing what I'm supposed to do, doing the extra studying on Wednesdays, and then Thursday I'm back at practice. And that was my routine when I was in Indianapolis Colts for 3 years. And then when I went to the Panthers, it was the same thing. I was off on Wednesdays. So that's when I did most of my studying and all that other stuff. So you need that. You need that because, at year 10, year 12, you know the game. You know what you have to do. You just have to study a little bit more because the game is that much faster. So you got to anticipate things.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Okay. So I will end it with a couple then. So I'll ask one and then I'll let Brian shoot as well. For me, the thing that really perked my ears was you saying you wanted to get into coaching and the front office stuff and stuff. Is there a particular franchise that you'd warm to, whether it's one you've played with or that you've got friends at or know people in that front office, and what would make an appealing sort of setup for you?
You know what's funny? I know at least one person on every team.
Really?
So I can't really answer that question. I don't want to burn no bridges.
You're just going to be DM sliding all summer with this coronavirus stuff, man.
I'll be blocking my blessings. No particular franchise. I just want to get in. I want to learn.
Yeah.
Put like that. I don't want to get in there and just try to think I know it all. I want to learn. I want to understand. I want to know why they make moves like that.
Yeah.
I want to know why you let go of somebody like a Malcolm Jenkins, because it probably makes sense.
Right.
I want to know why would you let go of a Cam Newton, or you let go a franchise player, a running back, or whatever it is, because upstairs they probably got their reasons for it, whether it's salary cap, whether it's a problem, whether the player wants to move, whether they just wasn't seeing eye to eye on the defense or the offense. I want to understand those things.
Sure. Brian, what have you got?
So I have 2 questions. So obviously you played 16 years and you look like you're in great shape. You're like, you're all there. How does somebody that plays a game like that for so long keep themselves in such a great place mentally and physically?
So a lot of people see, my thing is, this was my thing when I came to the league and what I learned real quick, because mind you, let me back up. My salary was 250 when I first got in the league. Now, when they first get in the league, their salary is 450.
Wow.
So they're making 200 more now. But my thing was, when I first got in the league, it was like, I don't wear earrings. I don't have rims on my car. I don't have no fancy car. I don't have any of that stuff, right? No chains. I don't do any of that stuff. My biggest investment was investing in my body, investing in myself. You know what I'm saying? So I did a lot of ART, a lot of MAT, active release therapy, and muscle activation therapy. I did both of those. I did yoga. I don't do a regular workout. I do the Rocky workout. I go to this park called Eastside Park over in Patterson. I run up the hills. I do the steps. I do walking dumbbells. I do pull-ups. I do push-ups. I do stuff like that. I drink in moderation. I rarely drink. Don't smoke. So that's how I've been taking care of myself. I've been doing all those things. Like I would drink socially in moderation. Like even during the season, I wouldn't drink. Maybe after a game if we win, maybe. Other than that, I don't do none of that stuff. So that's why I stayed in shape, and it definitely carried me and definitely put a couple years up on me. And I changed my diet as well too. Mm-hmm. So I don't eat red meat. I eat turkey, fish. I try to stay away from the fried foods. I still eat it in moderation. You know, the thing that's killing me right now, I would like a Philly cheesesteak. They be calling me sometime, man. Bruh. So, but it's been what 4 or 5 years now. I haven't eaten red meat, so I'm staying away from it. So, my whole mentality changed. My whole and all that shifted. So, that's how I just stay in shape.
Oh, that's really good. And then my second question is, now if you leave in the game, are there certain safeties in the league that you really like? You know, you feel like they stand out to the point where like the game is in good hands because of those those players like a Derwin James or other players like that of caliber.
That's a good question because I like Jamal Adams mainly because his last name is Adams. I like Derwin. I like Derwin James. I like him too. I like Nasir Ali. He's also
Delaware.
He's a young boy coming up from Delaware. He's out in the Chargers. I like Eddie Jackson. I like him. Sleeper. I like obviously I like Jalil. Hopefully he get his shot. Sleeper. I like Boston.
Trey Boston.
Wow,
I like Trey Boston. Sleeper.
Dude, I love that
Very
guy.
underrated player.
Like he been making plays and he been doing a lot of stuff. He finally got a little bit of money this year, but I think he's a decent player. He's a sleeper.
I don't get that. I love him, and I was campaigning for him for the Eagles for like 2 off seasons when writing the articles and tape. And it's like both of these last contracts I've been so criminally underrated and have come so late on, and they're so cheap. And I'm like, what are teams not seeing? Because when you put on the tape, like he's an animal.
Yeah, he's a good player, and those are things I want to know. Why is he? Why is that? Why do he get paid that much? And you see a guy like, I won't say a name that's not as good as him getting this much. You know what I mean? Right. You just don't know. And like I said before, all it does is take one team to like you.
Yeah. That's it. It's basically we're just flirting with teams all off season. What we're doing, we're just keeping all 32 teams open, like sending emojis. That's the duty of a player. But on that note, I mean, obviously you've had a big birthday this week. I know we're in quarantine and stuff, but what does the next sort of 6 months have for you in store?
Next 6 months, hopefully, I won't be confined to this residence. Next 6 months. But I'm still on the phone with teams. I'm still talking. I'm still grinding my way in. We'll see after the draft. After the draft, that'll tell me a lot of things. A lot of things will shake up then. So we'll see. I really don't know. I don't have a plan right now. I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying retirement. I'm not enjoying the coronavirus, but I'm just got my feet up, relaxing, man, just watching to see what happens.
Amazing. Mike, it has been an absolute blast having you on. Hopefully it won't be the last thing that we do either. I know that everyone in the chat, I know we've had close to 50 people watching at once, which is amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute blast. Briggsy has donated $2 to the channel with the message, shout out Brian, my boy doing big things. So don't get too flustered,
Briggs,
Brian. All
tell
right.
Briggs he need to donate to my family.
I'll send it over your way. I'll move it to you.
Hey, you need to donate a bottle of Henny up for my birthday.
All right.
At the collection.
Awesome, Matt. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, hopefully we'll have some more live streams and podcasts and stuff coming your way soon. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that big red button. Our Twitters are down below. Mike's Twitter, I believe, is m.adams, but the dot is DOT and not an actual full stop, because that took me ages to work out. But m.adams is the way to go to follow Mike on Twitter. Mike, thank you for joining us. I think this has definitely been a breath of fresh air for everyone in such a stressful time, just to be able to talk shop, talk football, and get some insight into what has been a storied career.
No doubt. Glad you had me on.
Awesome. Well, take it easy, guys, and we'll see you for the next one.
Yes, sir.